We are aware that some of these military takeovers are instigated and funded by the colonial forces, particularly France, which continues to micromanage the politics and economies of the countries it colonized. All progressive forces must reject France's interference in the African continent. The EFF in South Africa will therefore, before the end of May 2022, convene International Continental Summit of all EFF-aligned structures all over the continent to talk about progressive socialist agenda for the world ahead and giving each other practical support towards the establishment of the EFF all over the continent. As EFF structures in the continent, we must support each other and must demand political and economic emancipation in all countries where they have not achieved such. We as the EFF condemn the military takeover of political power in different parts of the African continent. Political power must exclusively be established through free, fair, transparent and democratic elections and not through the barrel of a gun. We call on all regional bodies and the African Union to always decisively suppress military takeover of political power in each and every country. The military takeover of Burkina Faso must be suppressed and the Mali must be forced to transit towards civilian political power as a matter of agency. We reject loans from the World Bank because they come with conditionality which primarily undermine economic and policy sovereignty of our country. It is a fact that conditionality from World Bank destroyed many underdeveloped and developing economies all over the world. It is therefore irrational to accept senseless loans with conditionality from the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. Well, the continent is not going through what could be described as a crisis per se. I think on the side of the West we're experiencing a bit of difficulty, and ECOWAS is actually dealing with it decisively. Burkina Faso must be dealt with decisively, both by UN, not UN, AU and ECOWAS. And that one who dissolved his cabinet, it's his prerogative. It's not a declaration of a crisis. I think it's more of an internal issue than any other thing. He's a president who's struggling with getting relevance in Malawi. And he overpromised and is finding difficult to deliver. And therefore he wants to be blaming it on other people. So maybe he will win. Sudan, till today, we still have problems there. A religion has been used to divide the African people. We've got a crisis in Ethiopia as well. We hope it will be resolved. There should be a peaceful African solution to all of those African problems. But as you know, we were from time to time going through tribulations as a continent, and we should be able to find permanent African solution. I didn't know about the UN people being here. I'm getting it for the first time. I don't know. They should have passed by Konka. Maybe we would have seen them. That they are UN people here. But where we go, I've not seen any UN DP. SG. I've not seen anyone like that. So we'll follow it up after this to check if there is such a thing. Parliament fire is really a negligence matter. There's no one who burned Parliament. It's like that thing of the fire there, of Waterkloof. If there are such conspiracies, then they must also apply in Waterkloof, because everywhere, every time there is a fire, there must be Christmas. Christmas must be everywhere. There's fire, there's Christmas. That thing is neglected. You know, I like property, so I pay much more attention into property development and all of that. The way it burned is so interesting. It burned from the roof, and in the roof, That's where you have a lot of wires. And unlike now, in the past, people who were doing electrifications, air cons and all of that, they will just leave wires moving like this. If you get into most old buildings' roofs, it's a mess. But now, the regulation is such that they must all be organized and then put together somehow, so this in a tube of some sort, so that there is no such a thing that the possibility that might have occurred in Parliament. So there, with honesty, I suspect the rats went to eat the wires. And then these wires came into contact and caused a spark. But because they don't want to take the responsibility, they go to a homeless man. Because if that is the case, then someone in Parliament must take responsibility. Because firstly, what are the rats doing there? The place must be fumigated from time to time. There must be rat traps and all manner of things. But equally, those wires in this day and age should have been put inside this tube thing we're talking about. So if in the past they were like that, with new renovations that are taking place in Parliament permanently, and we don't see what they are renovating, they should have gone to reorganize those wires and make sure that even if one is loose, it doesn't come into contact with the other one to avoid causing the spark. The fire department, Cyril said Cape Town is a working metro, what. But that metro also, the inspectors should have picked it up long time ago. From time to time, they must inspect if you are fire compliant. And they should have picked it up that your wires are not in order. You need to put these wires this way, otherwise we're revoking the occupational certificate of Parliament. There is no Christmas who did anything. That's how that thing of they carry the heavy thing we wanted to carry the other day and removed from Parliament. Mason. Mace was saved because Mace was here on the corridors and the fire was up there. Because I'm told GP the passages have not burned of Parliament. It's the roof. So come on now. Christmas with all his sophistication, how can he plan to bend the roof and make sure that the passages are not? It's a technical problem and someone must take responsibility. Two people, Thandi Modise and the current speaker, Noziviwe, and the Secretary of Parliament. Anyway, if these two politicians can't take responsibility, the Secretary of Parliament must take responsibility. Because Parliament belongs to the Secretary of Parliament. She must fall on a sword. I don't know why she's still Secretary of Parliament. You know, a person who shows remorse, even if there was nothing wrong that she did, she must just say, out of respect, you had assigned me to look after this place, and I did not do what was expected of me. Whether it is bent, whether it's a technical fault, or whatever reason that is going to come at the end, Secretary of Parliament by now should have resigned and said, let's say Christmas banned it. Where was Secretary of Parliament when Christmas was banning her Parliament? Because she should have put all systems in place to make sure that no one ever gets into that Parliament. Especially after Mbeki incident, where an intruder went into Mbeki's office, it's an office or a house, and was drinking Mbeki's things there. For the whole week, sat there without any interference. So clearly, from that time until now, we should have improved the security of that place. That should have served as an alarm. You call yourself a Secretary of Parliament, from that Mbeki incident until now, you have not done anything to secure Parliament. an honorable, innocent member of staff of parliament would have resigned. She can't resign. She's a deployee. Cater deployment. She's waiting for them as a mascot, for them to tell her, no, you have to resign. She must resign because parliament belongs to her. For whatever reason, parliament has banned. The same thing with Waterkloof. Whoever is in charge there, Secretary of Defense, must take responsibility and step down. You can't ban the assets of the public and there are no consequences. Someone must, with humility, I'm not saying I've done anything wrong, but the fact that this thing banned under my own supervision, I failed to. I therefore wish to leave. I don't know why Floyd by now, they haven't asked that Secretary of Parliament, why are you not resigning? I'm not saying you must resign. I'm asking you, why is your conscience not telling you that you must resign and do a right thing? So that South Africans, as they continue to investigate, they know that at least there's one person who took responsibility. Till to date, Parliament has burned to ashes. We are going around asking for spaces to hold Parliament. What a shame. But no one has lost a job. That's South Africa for you.